Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here, aka Artist in Recovery. And once again, I'm coming to you on my usual daily bike ride. There's my baby. All right, and this is Concert Diaries with Daryl P. Today, since I found a picture, I was looking through my pictures, my old Polaroids, or not Polaroids, my old Kodak pictures, trying to find Van Halen pictures I took from the front row in 1981, and I came across one picture of AC/DC that I took. I thought it was the Back in Black tour, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's talk about Back in Black. Some interesting stuff happened. Again, I'll say this again. I hope nobody is disappointed if you watch this Concert Diaries. I talk about my memories of the show, and a lot of my memories have to do with being a Gen Xer and using and drinking back in the 80s and 90s, and that's what I remember. So there's not a whole lot of musical critiquing or stage equipment critiquing or anything like that. It's my memories of the show, and sometimes they're funny and weird, and this one's interesting. Okay, I really thought I would have bet money that this was the Back in Black tour. I saw them. I still remember the date, December 3rd, 1981. There's certain groups that get so hot, and like when you're a teenager, you're dying for the show to come around your city. And by the time they get there, everyone is at a fever pitch. That happened to us with Guns N' Roses. I'll talk about that in a future video. But it happened with AC/DC because they did not come to Connecticut supposedly on the Back in Black tour. They didn't get here until the Back in Black tour started in June 1980. For those about to rock, when I saw them, it was very early in the For Those About to Rock tour. Like I said, I saw them on December 3rd, 1981. I was 15 years old at the Hartford Civic Center. One of my friends, I had 3 friends that I'd go to the shows with from high school, and we formed a band. Like I said, this is old Gen X memories. And I played the bass. I had a Fender Precision bass that I bought at a tag sale. Yeah, it was a Fender Precision bass, but it was not a good for Fender Precision bass. And my buddy was such a fan of Angus. He had a Gibson SG that he just freaking loved, a black Gibson SG, just like Angus's. And this one guy, he ended up going into the Army when he graduated. He saw his father was kind of wealthy. He owned a car dealership, and his father took him to a trip down to Delaware, I believe it was. It was either Delaware it was Delaware. And he got to see Bon Scott before he passed away on the, I think it was the Highway to Hell tour, the 1979 tour. So he was like 13 years old, and he got it because of his rich father. And we were so jealous of this one guy. The rest of us didn't get to see AC/DC until December 3rd, 1981. Now, here's the interesting part. Okay, like I said, everybody was at a fever pitch because AC/DC had not come to Connecticut until this time. And by this time, everything was at a fever pitch. They were smoking hot. They were the band. Back in Black came out. For Those About to Rock just was about to come to drop. And they were just one of the hottest bands, and you knew these tickets were going to sell out in a couple hours. I was in high school. I believe I must have been a sophomore, and this is the only time I got suspended from school. Well, there might have been a few other times later in my life. And I was in school when I heard that the tickets went on sale. So me and my buddies, one or two of my buddies, just walked out of school, and I ended up getting suspended for that. And I didn't even lie about it. I just said the tickets are on sale. That's more important than anything. We're leaving. I didn't have a license, so the nearest Ticketmaster was actually in the city that I'm living in now, Bristol, Connecticut. But I didn't live in Bristol, Connecticut back then. I lived about 20 miles away in Watertown, Connecticut. So we hitched a ride in some beat-up hippie vans. Like I said, these are classic Gen X stories. Some beat-up hippie van, this guy and his girlfriend. We went to go to a Ticketmaster in Waterbury, Connecticut, but it was closed. And we happened to meet this guy, the older hippie and his girlfriend in their van in Waterbury, and they had us hop in the van. And for all we know, they could have, been the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, and I could be chopped up somewhere right now. But they weren't, and they took us to this city right here, to Bristol, Connecticut, where we ended up buying 4 not very bad tickets. And that's going to come into play in a second, too. They were further back on the floor. They were like around 20th row on the floor, which, you know, it's not great. Well, being a tall dude, and if I stand on the seat, I could still see the stage. And speaking of that, I'm going to use this picture because that's exactly what I was standing on the seat, and when I took this picture, and I'm going to use it for the thumbnail. It's far back. You can see the whole lighting set up, and you can see Angus Young on the stage with his shirt off, and you'll see it on the thumbnail picture. Where the rest of the pictures are, I don't know. They didn't come out, they weren't the greatest. But here's why that particular seat was so good. It was on the corner. There's three sections across the floor. And we were right on the corner at the back of the first section. And during AC/DC shows, if you've never seen them, this is a thing that Angus always did. He'd come out from the side of the stage, or from behind the stage, behind the barrier, on one of the roadies' shoulders, playing the guitar, and he'd have a group of roadies or bouncers around him, so there'd be one guy with Angus on his shoulders. Angus is just jamming away, and they'd carry him out to the middle of the seating, the middle row that would usually go across the middle of the floor. And that's right where we freaking were, man. I mean, I seen Angus come right down the row at me, just jamming away, hair flying all over the place, SG going. The lights are all hitting me when he's going by. I mean, I could have reached out and touched him. The bouncers would have broke my arm, but I could have reached out and touched him. And then he turned and went back down towards the stage, you know. So we were in a prime, a beautiful spot to see Angus go jamming right by us. At the beginning of the show, they always did Hell's Bells, and that was just, it gives me goosebumps. It was awesome. You know, being a 15-year-old, just when this song was coming out, Hell's Bells, and the big bell would come down behind the drum set, and it'd be bong, bong, you know, and you'd hear the guitar riff breaking, you know, and it was just freaking awesome. I remember them playing a whole lot of Rosie. I remember Dirty Deeds. They played that. You Shook Me All Night Long. I remember hearing that. And this is good, because you got to consider this was 44 freaking years ago. So it's a miracle I remember any of this. I think the band Midnight Rider, they were, I wouldn't call them a one-hit wonder, but they were something. not anything big or spectacular, but they were something. They opened up at this show for AC/DC, and subsequently I saw AC/DC about, I'd say at least 3 or 4 more times. I've seen over 100 concerts. I've seen AC/DC, and I'm going to talk about them in the future in more of these. I've got, and that pretty much wraps it up for AC/DC, I think. So I went back to school the next day. And we actually had this thing, I wonder if any of you and other Gen Xers had this back in the 80s. We actually had in-school suspension. You know, we loved out-of-school suspension. You know, like you get caught skipping school or walking out of school like I did, and they give you another day off. They give you, that's just great. And then they realized that wasn't a smart thing to do. So they started having in-school suspensions where we would sit in a freaking detention room for the whole day, not being able to talk. We'd have piles of books. The teachers would supposedly, bring down work for us from all our different classes. So we'd be sitting in the same seat, the same chair, except and that's right, they'd even bring us lunch. It was like being in a jail for 7 hours. That was in school suspension, but it was worth every freaking minute of it for my AC/DC tickets back when I was 15 years old. And I still remember the shirt. The shirt was a back in black shirt. I refuse to say that this was for those about to rock, though I could swear they didn't have the cannons on stage for the first time I saw them. They had them the second time I saw them. They had cannons across the stage and they'd shoot them off for those about to rock. But I swear they didn't, I swear it was the back in black tour that I saw in 1981. But Google tells me no. That's what I remember. My shirt still says it. All right, I'll be back tomorrow with another great concert diaries. Tell me what you guys want to see, because if it's a band from the 80s, if it's a big rock band, I'm willing to bet I saw them. ZZ Top, Jay Giles, Black Sabbath, Blue Oyster Cult, you name them, I probably saw them. Never saw Molly Hatchet. I didn't see a whole lot of country, or what do you call that? Country rock? Western? I don't know what you call that. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with another Concert Diaries. Have a great Saturday.